Okay, so I said we're not going to use our vocabulary that we started on Friday, but actually we're going to do 3 of those here. So looking back to your vocabulary on Friday, what is point?
Single location.
Good. It is a single location in space. Okay, a point is a single location in space. Now, one thing that I want to add to that is it has no shape or size. A point has no shape, it has no size. It's just that single place. Okay? So from your thing on Friday, what is a line? Okay? It is a collection of points in a straight row. All right, and then what is the definition of a plane?
Collection of points filling a flat surface.
Good. It is a collection of points filling a flat surface. Collection of points filling a flat surface. Okay, and so, well, I'll let you finish that. So one of the main things we're going to do today is we're going to talk about, okay, how do you name these things? What's the naming process for each of these 3 things? Which is very important because you'll need to know how to do this through the whole year. How do I name these 3 different things? Okay, good. So the first one's easy. That's a single point. So you can name it like this, point A, or you can name it point A like this. Either one of those is an acceptable way to name that point. Okay, now a very important thing about this is that with a point, it is always a capital letter. It's always going to be a capital letter, uppercase letter. Okay? This next thing, what do you think this is?
A line.
It's a line. Good. Okay? Now, there's 3 different ways I can name this line right here. So one way is like this. I can name this line PQ. That's one way. That symbol over it. Kind of got all jacked up there, but it's a line with 2 arrowheads on it. Okay, another way I can name this is I can name it line QP. Just swapping those 2 letters. That's perfectly acceptable to name it that way also. Now, if you'll notice, there's 3 different letters up there, okay? Now, there's a P, Q, and M. What's the difference between the P and Q and the M?
The M is not capitalized.
Good. The M is not capitalized like P and Q. So what do you think, what's going on here? What are P and Q?
The point.
They're points on the line. Now, are P and Q the only points on that line? No? I mean, there's a point right here. There's a point here, here, here. I mean, there's points all over. There's one here, there's one here, 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 here. It's just that on this one, that's the only 2 points they chose to pick out and say, okay, I'm picking out this point and that point. I'm going to call this point P, call this point Q. But there's points all over there. But those are the only 2 named points up there. Okay, so P and Q are capitalized. The M is not capitalized. And this is what confuses people, is M is not a point on that line. Okay? M is not a point. There's several ways to see that. Number 1, there's not like a dot, like saying, okay, this is a point. Number 2, it's not capitalized like that. It's not on the line. I mean, there's a lot of ways to see that, but M is not a point. So what the M is it's simply whoever made this up saying, okay, this is line M, okay? So, and when we do that, we actually just write out the word line like this. So this is line M. Okay? So remember, P and Q are points on that line. M is not a point on that line. It's just the name of the line. Okay, what is this?
It's a plane.
It's a plane. Yes, it's a plane. Okay. So the symbol we use for plane is like this. It's like a little parallelogram. So I can name this plane BCD. Or I can name it plane DBC. Or I can name it plane CBD. And there's actually 3 other ways that I could do that. I'm not going to list them all out. But I could, like, on that top one, I could do BDC. On the middle one, I could do DCB. And on the bottom one, I could do CDB. But I'm not worried about all those. Okay, now, the same idea applies here to this plane as what happens to the line up there. There's 4 letters up there. There's B, C, D, and a K. What's the difference between those 4? Okay, is K a point on this plane?
No.
And the answer is right. No, it's not. K is not a point. B is a point. C is a point. D is a point. K is not. Okay, there's another minor difference. Maybe kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but what's the difference between these 3 letters and this letter? Okay, basically the font, right? They're both capitalized, but B, C, and D are basically like print letters, and the K is like a cursive letter or italicized letter or something like that, okay? So the other way to name this is like this, just to call this plain K, cursive K. Okay, what I want you to do over here on the right-hand side, split it like this. Okay, don't have to be nothing fancy here. You'll see. Okay, so when you're naming a point, you use 1 point. I mean, that's obvious, but when you're naming a point, you only use 1 point. When you're naming a line, okay, you use 2 points. And when you're naming a plane, what do you think?
3.
No.
Yep. You use 3 points. Okay? Like on a plane, they may have 100 points shown on there, okay? Like you got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just points all over the place. But when you're naming it, you only choose out 3 of those points, okay? And we'll talk more about that because, we'll talk more about that. But this is the main thing to remember. When you're naming a point, you use 1 point. When you're naming a line, you use 2 points. When you're naming a plane, you use 3 points. Flip it over. All right, so what do we have going on right here? We've got a graph, right? Now, do you see all 3 of those things that we're talking about, a point, line, and plane? Okay, where's a point? Where?
Negative 313.
Negative 313. Yep, there's a point right there. Is that the only point up there?
No.
Nope. Is this a point right here?
Yes.
Is this a point right here?
Yes.
What about here?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Here? Forever, right? Thank you. So even on the line itself, there's an infinite number of points on that line. And then especially as you think about this whole thing, I mean, there's a point here, 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 here. There's an infinite number of points. So I'm only labeling that 1 point, but that's one of an infinite number here. Okay, are there any lines up here? Yeah, right? There's a line right here. Okay? Is that the only line?
No.
Nope. Okay? This right here is a line. What about in between there? Is there a line?
Yes.
Yeah, we could draw a line. So again, same thing. I'm only labeling one line, but there's an infinite number of lines there. Is there any planes up there?
Yes.
Yep. And again, I could do this however I want. So I'm just going to do it like this. You don't have to do exact same as what I'm doing, just the idea. So if I block that off right there, is that a plane right there?
Yeah.
Yep, it is. Okay, and again, I could say like right here, this is a plane. There's an infinite number of planes here also. Okay, so let's look at your little rectangular prism you made now. Okay, with your finger, point to a point on this. With your finger, point to a point. Okay, is that a point?
Yes.
Yep, is this a point?
Yes.
Okay, at the very, end of my finger, at the very tip of my finger, is there a point right there?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a point here?
Yes.
Okay, so there's points all over, right? All right, now point to a line on here. So now you're going to have to kind of move back and forth. Where's the line at? Okay? It's a line right here, right? There's a line right here, there's a line right here, there's a line right there. Okay? Point to a plane now. So now you have to swipe like this. Where's a plane? Okay? So right here's a plane. This is a flat surface. Here's a plane. Okay? That is a flat surface. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow, but while we've got this, I want to go ahead and talk about it now. Okay. Are there parallel lines on this?
Yes.
Where are parallel lines at?
Right here.
Right here. Are these parallel?
Yes.
Yep. These right here. These right here. These right here. Okay? Point to lines that are perpendicular on here. Okay, what does perpendicular mean? Where they make 90 degrees. And so this line and this line right here, you can see how this one and this one make a 90-degree angle. So they're all over the place, right? Here, here, all over the place. Okay, now here's going to be the weird one. All right? So, and it was on your vocabulary from Friday, but they're what we call skew lines. Okay, skew, S-K-E-W. Skew lines are lines that are not parallel, but also that do not cross each other.
Right.
Okay? Skew lines are lines that are not parallel, but also do not intersect each other. They do not meet each other.
Like this. These two.
Yep. Those two are parallel. Okay, so if you think about it like this one, it's going to be kind of hard to see, but this one here on the front, right here, and then this line here on the back, that's going up and down. See how this one right here and this one right here are never going to hit each other, but they're also definitely not parallel, right? So this line on the front and this line back here, because this one's going up and down, this one's running this way, and they miss each other. See, they're not going to hit each other, but they're also not parallel. Okay? All right, so let's think about this. Okay, I want you to write this over here on the right-hand margin. 2 points meet, no, not 2 points, I'm sorry. I'm dumb. 2 lines. 2 lines meet at a blank. Where 2 lines meet up, where do they meet up at? Good, at a point. right? If you think about it on here, where two lines meet up, so where this line meets up with this line, see this line and this line meet up at a single point. All right, next, two planes meet at a blank. At a what? Yep, okay. Two planes meet at a line. Okay, again, so if you think about on this right here. So you have this plane right here. You have this plane right here. Where this plane and this plane meet up, they meet up right here along this line. So two planes meet at a line. And then the last one here is that a point, no, trying to do that again. A line and a plane meet at a blank. Where do a line and a plane meet at? Okay, so here's a line. I just straightened out a paper clip here. Okay, right here's a plane. So where this line meets that plane, what happens where they meet up?
A point.
Good. So this line meets up with this plane at a single point. All right?
You are intelligent. And brilliant.
All right, so looking at this right here. What's going on right here? You have two lines meeting, right? So what is the name of this line right here? Okay, line L. Yeah, it's a jacked up L, but it's an L. Okay, what's the name of this line? It's line M. So where line L and line M meet up, where do they meet at?
Point P.
They meet at point P. All right. So in this little picture right here, of course you don't have color on your paper, but looking up here, the blue one, what is the blue figure there? It is plane B. Plane B. Okay, the green one, what's the green one? It is plane A. So where plane A meets up with plane B, where do they meet up at?
Line R.
They meet up at line R.
Do we have to write it in cursive or?
Yes, as much as possible. To the best of your ability. Okay. So looking at this little figure right here, how many planes appear in this figure? And assume that the bottom of this thing and that this big plane are two different ones. How many planes are there?
7.
There's 7, right? Because you have the front here, this side, the back, that back, and this side. So that's 5. Then the bottom is 6. And then the other one is 7. So we have 7 planes here. Okay, the next question says, name 3 points that are collinear. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow, but it's an easy concept. Collinear, and you wrote it down on your vocabulary from Friday, but collinear just means that they're on the same line. And in this picture right here, there's only 3 that are going to work. There's only 3 that are collinear. So I need 3 points that are on the same line. Good, right here. This is the only example in this picture where that happens. J, K, and D. So points J, point K, and point D. Okay? Now, Oh, okay. So first of all, this shape right here, what would we call that shape?
Pyramid. Pentagon pyramid.
There you go. It's a pentagonal pyramid, okay, or pentagonal pyramid, however you want to say it, okay. It has a pyramid for a base, and it's a pentagon for a base, and it's a pyramid, okay. Has one base and triangular faces. We'll definitely talk about that more next semester. So the question is name the intersection of plane HDG with plane X. So I want to know where this plane meets up with this plane. So first of all, HDG is this right here. Okay, it's this plane. It's the front side of this pentagonal pyramid. So where does that plane meet up with plane X, which is the big plane down here on the bottom? Okay, does this plane right here meet up with plane X at point H?
No.
Does it hit at point H?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Does this plane HDG meet up with plane X at point G?
Yes.
Does this plane HDG meet up with plane X at this point between H and G?
Yes.
What about that point?
Yes.
So it's actually every point between there. So where does that plane and this plane meet up at?
HG.
At line HG. And I know somebody said the correct answer a second ago. I was just trying to get other people there. And that's what we talked about right up here. Two planes meet at a line. Okay? That's what we said right here. Two planes meet at a line. So where these two planes meet up, they meet up at a line. Okay, then the last question. At what point do LM and EF intersect? And explain. Okay, let me erase this so we can...
Oh, point L.
Where does line LM and line EF intersect? Okay, let me also explain what's going on here. So what they mean, you can see this line is dashed. What they're trying to show, I mean, it's hard to show three-dimensional things in two dimensions, but what they're trying to show is that this line is like going down through it, okay? Like this. Like that line is, is going down through it like this, okay? So that's what they're trying to show. So where does EF meet up with LM? And it's basically a trick question, right? Are they going to meet up?
No.
And the answer is no, they're not, okay? So, it's a trick question. They don't meet. Oops. Or they don't intersect. Okay, so we talked about it a second ago. What would we say about those two lines then?
They are skewed.
Good, they're skew lines. Okay, and again, we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but they're definitely not parallel to each other. Okay, LM and EF, but they're not going to hit each other either. Okay. Okay, just work on the side that I handed it to you on. Don't work on the one that has an HW that's for homework. Work on this side right here. Just work on this side right here. I want you to just take your desk. We don't have much time at all. Just start answering the first two there. The first three there, you're given, just give a real world example of something that would be like those three things. So what would be a real world example of a point? Like a dot, like maybe a period at the end of a sentence. Do what? Yeah, the corner of a room where all the lines meet up. That's good. Okay. What would be a real world example of a line? A rope. That would work. A pencil. Things like that. What would be a real world example? Say that fast 3 times. A real world example.
Real world example. Real.
Okay, so give a real world example of a plane. A table, like your desktop. All of it, okay? Alright, this is not homework, okay? This is not homework. So, but I do want you to just go ahead and hang on to it, okay? And vocabulary stuff tomorrow and go ahead and go on with that.
Oh, we use our prism.
You can keep those, throw away whatever you want. Make sure you put your scissors back in the tub over there, please.